Hello, and welcome to Candidates Upfront, a public interest election program of Berks Community Television and the League of Women Voters of Berks County. Our November 7th general election is coming up. Citizens who are 18 or older will vote for judges, school directors, and township, borough, and city officials. The deadline to register to vote is October 23rd. To check your voting status, go to vote.pa.gov. That's vote.pa.gov. You can register, change your party, locate your polling place, or apply for an absentee or mail-in ballot. And the deadline to apply for those is October 31st. If you are looking for information on statewide, school, or township races or borough officials, please use the League's online voters guide, vote411.org. That's vote411.org. And for information on countywide and Reading candidates, please stay tuned. The League interviewed candidates in contested races, those who wanted to be interviewed, and for each race, the candidates got the same basic questions and had the same amount of time to answer them. For the League, I'm Judith Cranus, and let's begin.
Hello, I'm Renee Dietrich, a member of the League of Women Voters. Two candidates are competing for a chance to be the managerial district judge in District 23301. That includes Brecknock, Carnarvon, Robinson, and Union Townships, plus Birdsboro and New Morgan. The candidates are Democrat Melissa Seidel Karpovich and Republican Mike Kaufman. The ministerial judge handles traffic violations, landlord-tenant matters, and civil actions where the amount claimed is less than $12,000. The judge presides at arraignments, sets bail, issues warrants, and performs duties of a similar nature. The term is 6 years, and the salary is $106,245. Each candidate's views are their own and not those of the League or BCTV. So my interview today is with Melissa Seidel Karpovich. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
All questions have a 1-minute answer unless otherwise indicated. So let's start out, Melissa. Tell the viewers about yourself and why are you running for this office?
Of course. Like you said, my name's Melissa Seidel Karpovich. I'm 35 years old and I reside in Union Township with my husband Peter and our 2 young boys, William and Bo. I graduated from the Daniel Boone High School in 2006. After graduating from high school, I attended the Reading Police Academy, where I became a certified police officer at the age of 19. I moved into my first law enforcement job with the Berks County Sheriff's Department, and then I worked for West Reading Borough part-time, and then lastly I worked for the Carnarvon Township Police Department for 8 years. I just recently left that department, and I decided to stay at home with my kids and focus on my campaign.
Thank you. Now tell us what education and background you bring to this position.
Like I said, I graduated from high school in 2006 from Daniel Boone, and then just some background. I worked for the Berks County Sheriff's Department. One of those jobs that I felt like has a big role in helping me understand the magistrate district judge position was I worked in the central booking division. We worked hand in hand with multiple MDJs around the county. I worked night shifts, so we would deal with people who would be arrested. They would be brought in, we'd fingerprint and photograph them, and then we would contact the local MDJs to arraign the defendants. So I've seen thousands of arraignments firsthand and how they work and how MDJs decide to set bail on different types of criminal cases. And lastly, just in June, I decided to go and get my certification from the Minor Judicial Education Board to be the next MDJ. That certification you have to have before you can take office, and I'm ready to take office day one now.
Thank you. Now, what about your personal qualities that you have that would help you be a good and effective district justice?
Of course, I mean, honesty, your common sense, of course. A lot of these some of the civil things, you're going to be using your judgment, your common sense, and just finding who you have to see who tipped the scale in one way or the other to make a judgment in those civil cases. And obviously you want to be, you have to have honesty. You want people to respect you when they're coming in for different cases. They want to be able to talk to you. They want to know that they can trust you, be trustworthy, and just be committed to the job you're doing. You want to be there when you're supposed to be there and make sure everybody's getting a fair shot at what they're there for.
Now, talk a little bit about the district you serve, because some of it's rural and then there's some boroughs. So tell us about the district you're going to serve, please.
Sure. So it's Southern Berks County. Like she mentioned which districts that would be. So Birdsboro, for example, is probably the smallest. It is the smallest borough. It's about 1 square mile, but it's very densely populated. So you're going to have a lot of people come out, voters there. And for example, New Morgan Borough, it's 5 square miles, but I believe they only have about 70 residents that live in that borough. And then you have Carnarvon Township, fairly more populated in the last few years. They have the casino there now, and they have a lot of bigger developments. And Brecknock Township is very rural. Not so many developments, more farmland. Robinson Township is probably the biggest district. Biggest township that would be in the district. It's about 40 square miles. And I do believe they have the biggest population as well.
Sounds like a very diverse geographic
Yes, absolutely.
distribution.
Yeah.
So what kind of community or volunteer work are you involved with that gives you a chance to meet the residents of your service area?
Sure. I'm not so much involved in anything particular at the moment that I'm hopefully volunteering with the American Legion and doing a community meal, and I'm just trying to get out to different events. There's a lot of Fall Fest going on right now. I did do some volunteer work with the Daniel Boone High School. This was a few years ago when I volunteered as a softball coach for the high school softball team. And I do work at the community center currently, just doing a few things here and there. So I've been able to meet a lot of people coming in for different activities when they're there for classes and at the fitness center and coming in the office.
Okay, now a district judge deals with matters of civil law and criminal law. Can you tell us the difference and maybe give us some examples of these?
Sure, absolutely. Civil is going to be some kind of contract dispute, or maybe, for example, let's say you could get into a car accident and you have some injuries and outstanding medical bills, or you missed work. You could sue somebody for pain and suffering, or to pay back those medical bills, or some lost wages that you may have had from work if you were injured and unable to go to work. There's also, or maybe if somebody assaulted you and they were arrested, and so the criminal side of that is going to be they'll handle the punishment. But then you could also sue that person for, again, the injuries or medical bills, the pain and suffering, things like that. On the other hand, the criminal offense, let's say assault, I already mentioned that. We might as well just talk about that. Somebody would be arrested, and then they would be either sent paperwork in the mail or taken directly in front of an MDJ to have an arraignment. They'll be advised of their rights, and bail will be set, and they will make sure they're understanding their charges. And then a preliminary hearing date would be set. That's when the Commonwealth, the officer, has to prove their case in court and decide if it's going to move forward to the Court of Common Pleas. Or if the MDJ feels there's not enough evidence to meet the prima facie case, they'll throw that out.
Okay, now let's talk about civil cases and explain the district justice's role in handling civil cases.
So civil cases, the MDJ is the ultimate decision maker on that. A lot of times it's going to come down to using your common sense, listening to both sides of the plaintiff and the defendant's stories, and then you make the decision from there. You could make a decision for the plaintiff if, let's say, they're seeking $5,000. Maybe you don't feel that that's necessary. Maybe you can make a decision and say, I think $1,000 is more appropriate, and you find judgment in favor of the plaintiff. Or if you don't feel the plaintiff brought the case appropriately, and you feel the defendant is the one who won the case, you just have to tip the scale. It's just 50.1% one way or the other. It's preponderance of the evidence for civil cases.
Okay. Now let's go back to criminal cases. District judges decide if there's enough evidence for a criminal case to go to trial. What are the things you consider when you make that decision?
Pretty much comes down to what the law states. If you have a case coming in, maybe you aren't familiar with the charge the officer's charging, you may want to do some research before the hearing. Maybe you get that criminal complaint the day before, sit down and look at the charges. Make sure you understand all the key elements of the crime, so when you go to have your hearing, the Commonwealth just has to prove a prima facie case. It's low, so they'll have to just prove that a crime was committed and the crime that's being charged is appropriate for what happened, and that the defendant most likely is that person who committed that crime. The judge will listen to the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth will have opening statements, and then so would the defendant and their attorney, and then the Commonwealth they could bring forward witnesses and do testimony, and the defendant and their attorney also can cross-examine and then bring their own witnesses, and then at the end they have closing statements, and the judge will decide if there was enough evidence to meet the prima facie case to move forward with a court of common pleas. Some charges could be dropped or thrown out. All charges could be thrown out if the judge doesn't believe that there's enough evidence, or all of them could move forward to the Court of Common Pleas.
So you're saying a judge can decide if the district judge's decision is appropriate. Some could be thrown out.
Correct. Like if the Commonwealth doesn't meet the criteria for, aggravated assault, but they do meet the criteria for the simple assault that's on the case, they can throw out, dismiss one charge, and move forward with the other charge.
Okay. Now, there's the question of bail. So what criteria is used to decide whether bail is needed? And then how do you determine how high or low the bail should be?
That's a great question. Bail is probably one of the most important things an MDJ is going to have to decide. You're possibly taking away somebody's freedoms and sending them to jail. Biggest thing is you want to make sure that the community and the victim are protected. Bail is never to be used as a punishment. You're not sending somebody to jail because you feel maybe that. Sorry, let me go back. Bail's never to be used as a punishment, so you're not you can never make bail excessive. So you have to take. There's 10 criteria you have to use to set bail. Let me see if I can remember all of them. If there are flight risks, their connections to the community, their relationships they have in the community, if they have any close family relationships in the community, their financial status, their mental health, and their past bail. If they were out on bail before, did they violate any conditions? Have they ever used a false ID? I think I've lost track of how many I'm up to. Any type of drug or alcohol issues, those are all factors that you have to play to set the bail. Obviously, like I said, you're not using bail as a punishment. If there's somebody who's, the crime maybe isn't fitting for a high bail, and you know that they probably don't have the means to post bail, there's a few different types of bail. You could do an unsecured bail where the defendant doesn't have to put up any money, but if they fail to show up for their court dates, they would forfeit some money if the judge put a set amount on it. Or it could be a secured bail. If the judge feels that, an aggravated assault case with a weapon, and they feel that the victim isn't going to be safe, or the community isn't going to be safe, they could set a high bail there and have them post some type of monetary bail using, they could put up real estate or cash, or use or bail bondsman. Or you could set a non-monetary bail with additional conditions, travel restrictions, making sure they don't get into any further trouble, no contact with the victim, things like that. So there's different options when MDJ does set bail. So if somebody isn't in the right space to be able to post bail, you do have some different flexibility as far as it goes for setting bail.
Thank you. That's more complicated than I
It is, yes.
Now, are there community problems the district judge can help alleviate?
I don't know that there's so many things that the judge can go out on their own and do. It's just whatever officers are bringing in as far as cases. Maybe somebody's homeless and they bring them in and arrest them, maybe you try to find them some resources that could help them get themselves on their feet. Maybe somebody struggling with mental health and a mental health disease, and they could again point them in the right direction as far as some types of resources to get them the help they need to to stop them from maybe they're in the continuing pattern because of they're not able to get the help that they need. So yeah, just I think that's probably the biggest ones, is just making sure people have the correct resources, and if you don't know them, point them in the right direction so they can get the help that they need.
Now, as a member of the judiciary, what do you think you can do on and off the bench to ensure that all Pennsylvanians have access to the courts?
That's a great one. I think right now the biggest thing is social media. Whether you're using a Facebook page or a website, Instagram, you could post different things and different resource links so people know what resources are available to them. You could. MDJ's office can't give out any type of legal advice. That's a big thing. A lot of people call and they want to, the office's opinion on some things, but maybe they could be like, oh, well, if you go to this website, it will have, the different links of different resources that they could use. You could post some frequently asked questions maybe. Even in your office, you could have like a list of things that you find people ask the most questions about and just have it posted.
Such as?
Just like where to find an attorney, or the public defender's office, or maybe, the Berks Safe. Maybe they're looking for, some resources, trying to get out of a situation, domestic violence or things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what is the importance of this position? Why should it matter to the average voter?
Well, the average voter could be coming into my office really at any time. It's the first step of the criminal justice system. We call, we're the guardians of justice. Maybe you're not arrested for something, but you could be a witness of a crime or an offense, or you could be a victim. You could be a plaintiff in a civil case, or even the defendant in a civil case. Maybe you own some property and, your tenant may try to sue you, or you have to take them to court. It's just so important to have somebody in there that's familiar with the community, who's has deep roots here, and who is approachable and they can come and talk to and have like just an easy conversation and not be intimidated by the position, because we're just here to help the community and make sure it's the best for our families moving forward.
Okay, now we've come sort of to the end here, so would you like to make a closing statement and tell our viewers why they should vote for you for this office?
Sure. Like I said, I have a background in law enforcement. I've spent the last 15 years serving the community, the Berks County Sheriff's Department, West Reading Borough, and then in Carnarvon Township. So my connection with the law enforcement community is there. I don't think that's the most important thing here. You don't have to have a law enforcement background to be in this position. You just need a high school diploma, and then you need to pass the Minor Judicial Education Board certification class. I think the biggest thing for me is my connection to this community. I was born and raised here, and not only was my father was born and raised and works in this district, my grandfather was born and raised and worked in the district, and my great-grandfather was born and raised and worked in this district. So I'm the fourth generation to be born, raised, and work here, and I have the strong community connection, and I'm raising the next generation, the fifth generation, and I just want everybody to realize that the strong connection I have is so important to understand what this community needs. The community served as such a great foundation for the person I am today, and I want to make sure that it continues to be a great community for our families and our children to grow up in. I just hope that I can count on everybody for their support. November 7th, vote Melissa Seidel-Karpovich for Madrid District Judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa, for sharing your views with us. Viewers, please remember that there are two candidates for magisterial judge for District 230301. Democrat Melissa Seidel-Karpovich, who's with us today, and Republican Mike Kaufman. You may vote for one. Now, if you need more information, you'll find candidates' upfront interviews on BCTV and its website and the YouTube page. And for more information on candidates, go to the League's online Voters Guide vote411.org, or you can contact the Berks County Election Services, 610-478-6490. And remember, Election Day is on November the 7th, 2023. Your vote is your voice. Say something.
May I just say one more thing? I do want to, I am the Democratic nominee for the position, but I am a registered Republican. This position is a non-partisan position, so we were allowed to cross-file. I just want to make sure everybody was aware that I am a registered Republican, but I will be the Democratic nominee and be on the ballot on the Democrat side.
Thank you for watching Candidates Up Front. I'm Renee Dietrich. Good day.